from Australia, we got Andrew Bogut. He is an NBA champion with the Golden State Warriors, 15-year NBA vet. He was the #1 pick in the 2005 NBA draft, and he's widely regarded as one of the greatest Australian basketball players of all time. He's been pushing back quite a bit on Australia's tyrannical rule. Andrew Bogut, welcome to TPUSA Live.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, Andrew, you went viral for a video saying that someone from the government or someone related to the government was reaching out to you and saying, hey, from your mansion, you got to do what every other influencer and celebrity is doing right now in Australia, tell everybody to stay home and just comply with this tyrannical rule. And what was your response?
Yeah, it was through a mediator, obviously, that brings me marketing deals and whatnot. Just came through and just said, you've been offered a little bit of money. It wasn't anything life-changing or anything like that, but it was a little bit of money to just put out a message about, stay at home, do the right thing. It's not that hard, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess I kind of sat with it for a couple of weeks before I even decided to reply, and I said no to it. And yeah, I just couldn't fathom telling everyday people to stay home and not work and not put food on the table when, I'm more than comfortable. So it was just felt a little hypocritical from my end.
I loved your response too. When you posted that video, you're saying, there's so many people filling up my DMs, my comments, just telling me to shut up. And you're just like, yeah, it's kind of true. Like, I want every single celebrity and influencer out here to just kind of be quiet and stop telling people how to live their lives and just really open your eyes to what's happening right now. These influencers and celebrities are getting paid just thousands and thousands of dollars to tell you to stay home. They're cashing in on it.
Yeah, well, they're either paid immediately, or it's there's a long-term gain, whether they're a TV network or people that work for a production company. Their contract could be up. I know people that have been leaned on to put messages out there because they work for TV networks, and it could help their long-term kind of security. And look, I understand to an extent some people trying to protect themselves, and it becomes a very selfish time when things are going on in the world like this. But talking down to everyday people and just telling them what to do with their lives when they're really struggling, I think is just, it's where I kind of draw the line. And I get killed because people say, oh, you're a millionaire, you can just sit at home and make these comments and be hypocritical of the government. And it's like, no, it's actually quite the opposite. I should technically be quiet because I am comfortable, right? But I decided not to. And there's pros and cons. I think it's 80% pro, 20% con, where 20% of the people are just so fried politically that they'll support the government no matter what they do.
Well, it's so funny. Just we've gone through so much just social justice stuff going on here in the NBA. I know you've seen that going on in there, and they're saying, hey, well, don't be silent. But if you do speak up, you have to stick with a specific narrative. So I think people can be thankful that you're actually speaking up for basically the voiceless right now, because we've been covering what's going on in Australia extensively on this show. But also, I think people need to remember that when you're in Australia and you look at the states, there's different states. You can always compare New York to Florida, Texas to California. So anytime people paint with a broad brush what's going on in Australia, what's going on in Victoria is a little bit different than New South Wales. So can you break that down for us? And from your experience, what has this whole leading into the pandemic and the lockdown been for you?
Yeah, it is. It's become, each state's become its own sporting team. They've got the population basically cheering against each other for how they handle the virus, which is just insane. That's the division over here. So I'm from Victoria, born and bred there, and a lot of friends and family there still, and spend a lot of time there. And the longest lockdowns in the world just went over the line a couple of weeks ago, and just tyrannical stuff, no protesting. People are just really scared to do anything, scared to go to a park, they're scared to go and exercise, they're scared to leave their house for 100 meters over 5 kilometers because that's the restriction. And then you look at other states, they've got it to a point where if someone comes from another state, let's say someone comes from New South Wales or Queensland and comes into Victoria or vice versa, and that person might have the virus, then that state's saying, oh, those dirty Victorians or those dirty Sydney-siders, and they've got it to that point. It's actually quite insane that they've got it there. And like I said, it's now become every state, as soon as there's 1 or 2 cases that pop up, every other state in Australia closes its borders. So like we're essentially living in 6, 7, 8 different states and territories based on as soon as there's a small spike in cases, and it's just outrageous. So what it's done is, if you go to work in a different state you might get locked out from returning to your own home. Not so much to go in for a holiday or visit someone.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that have been locked out of certain states for 4 or 5 months. So imagine you went somewhere for a week and now you're stuck there. You've got to pay accommodation in that place wherever you are stuck. You're paying taxes and utilities on a house that you can't even get to as a resident, and your kids and your wife are there. That's what some people are dealing with, and it's kind of, by some of the population, it's actually cheered on, and that's probably the most concerning. You've got the government putting in rules which you agree or disagree with, but it's the people that are saying, "Oh no, this makes sense." 20 months into a pandemic, we'll just continue to live this way, and you're like, "Hang on a second, we got to kind of balance this out a little bit."
This is Charlie Kirk, founder and CEO of Turning Point USA. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Turning Point USA.